Good day, this is Eric from Asonus Audio. Today I'm going to go over with you a little technique for taking an idea that you have in your mind that you just don't quite know how to translate it into a musical idea. Let's say you've got like this melody line, you can sing it, but you just can't you can't play it on a keyboard, and you just don't have the theory skills to writing it out in the piano roll. This just makes it a quick, easy way to, if you're sort of more non-musical, to take an idea and that you have in your head and translate it into something musical. Okay, now the concepts that we're going to be showing you here today it's in Studio One, but it's not just limited to Studio One. We're going to be using the program called Melodyne. So if you've got that program in another DAW, the concepts will work here. Just the way that you get your audio into that program will run a little bit differently. One of the advantages of Studio One is that Melodyne is integrated into it. So it makes it really convenient for editing audio right within the DAW. So what I've done here is I've just taken and created a couple tracks here just by singing. I kind of sang beatboxed a little beat, did like a little hi-hat pattern, and just kind of sang a little bass line. I'm not, certainly not a very good singer, and I'm not a beatboxer. And these patterns I made are very simple. Obviously there are more efficient ways to create a simple drum pattern. But I'm keeping it simple to just demonstrate the possibility of what you can do with this, okay? So let me just play for you real quick what I did here. Okay, so we got, some hilarious attempt at a kick and snare and a hi-hat and then a bass line, and it's not even quantized or all in key. So you can see how we can take something that's just going to be somewhat of a mess here and ridiculous sounding, and we can create something musical out of it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we'll just come up to the kick and snare track here, and we'll right click on it. We'll hit edit with Melodyne. Now I've already edited this. So when this first pops up here, what you're going to see is one straight line going across here. And what I've done is I've just taken the elements that are the kick and just dropped them down so we can distinguish the kicks from the snare. Okay, so here's our kicks, and there's the snare hits. So this is going to be important for when we export this as MIDI. We want to be able to distinguish what note values to assign. So if they're still in one continuous line here, it's going to be a little bit hard to do. So once you've done that, separated that, what we're going to do is we're going to go up here in settings, and we're going to do save as MIDI. But one thing I want to point out first too is that when you bring this in to Melodyne, you want to come up with the algorithm and make sure it's on percussive. Now, more than likely, Melodyne is going to detect that it's percussive and automatically assign there. But if it doesn't, you're going to get something like this melodic, and all your notes, it's going to think it's some sort of like a melody line, like singing, and all these notes are going to be all over the place. So we want to avoid that. Okay, so again, come up here, settings, save as MIDI, save it to a directory that you're, either the song that you're creating is in, or something where you remember where to get access to it. Okay, next thing, same thing with the hi-hat. Do edit Melodyne, or use your keyboard shortcut, Control M. You can see we got that continuous straight line going on here, and that algorithm is percussive. Okay, so we can go up here and hit settings and save as MIDI. And one thing I want to point out that you can do here with within Melodyne too is, in the studio version, is you can actually select a groove preference and quantize right within Melodyne as well. Okay, so it really doesn't matter what note value this is at, as long as we've got all the hits that we want to, that we're going for the snare. So again, settings, save as MIDI. The same thing with the bass line. Right click, bring it up. Now this time we want to make sure our algorithm is set to melodic, because we don't want that continuous straight line. We need, because this is a melodic pattern. Okay. One of the first things you probably want to do is, if you're anything like me and can't sing, these note values are going to be all over, and so you can come up here and snap it. This, this detected the key as E flat minor. You can hit snap that, and I just have my pitch center, pitch drift all the way up, because we're not tuning a vocal where you're going to notice any tuning artifacts, so you can just crank this all the way up. Okay. Now you notice it did have everything as in E flat minor, but let's say we did not want that in that key. We can either just go ahead and take all these notes and just move them around now inside Melodyne, or we can wait and shift those notes around once we get it into our the MIDI editing mode inside the Studio One. So once you go through here and you've edited this, and the pattern is to what we're trying to translate, one thing I want to point out is you want to watch out for some errant notes that might be coming up here sometimes, or down here. Sometimes Melodyne gets these little events up here that it's trying to, where you're imperfect pitch picks up these little notes that are on here. You just go through and edit and get rid of those. You just want to make sure you got the main melody line that you're looking for. Okay, again, you want to go settings, save the MIDI. Okay, so once you've done that, the next step you want to do is create a instrument track for your bass, and then and for your drums. I've already done that. Just bring it back in here. And then what you want to do is come up here to browse, and we're going to take a look at where we stored our files here. Okay, now I'm just going to just drag a new instrument on here and load a kit. So when we take our kick and snare and drag it onto a new instrument, one thing you want to note, you will notice right away, is we got this event spacing on here. What you want to do is just drag that up and edit it and cut it to the starting point, and then just drag the whole event over, and it is lined up now. Okay, so once click on that, I'm going to go to percussive mode here, you'll see that our notes are nowhere near where they need to be here. So what we can do is just highlight all your kick notes here. They can use the arrow button, up arrow, and move it, or you can hit shift and up, make bigger jumps with that. So we'll just move those notes to align it with our kick, their snare here. Okay. There you go. We'll just solo this out. And then what you want to do is you want to then go ahead and quantize that as well. You can hit Q and quantize that. Okay, so that's pretty much what you would do for the drum jack. Just remove that. Okay, same thing with the bass line. Just create an instrument and then just drag your note, your MIDI file right onto that instrument track. Then you want to come in here and just kind of take a look to see that, make sure that if there were like any of those errant notes that Melodyne might have picked up that aren't showing up here. And then you want to also just go through, check all your velocity layers here. Same thing on your, you want to do that with your kick and snare as well, as go through and check all the velocity layers. Just make sure all the notes. Now this, like I said, with that bass pattern, this came up and detected it was in E flat minor. You can go through then and just select and highlight all these notes and just move around to a different key that that fits to your imagination and what you're trying to accomplish musically. So let's just take a listen then what we have here. Okay, so there we go. We got a simple bass line and a little kit pattern going there. Like I said, there's definitely more efficient ways for creating beats in Studio One or whatever DAW you're using. This is really to demonstrate if there's something more complex that you're trying to get and you just don't quite know how to do it. But if you could beatbox that beat out, this is a way that you can accomplish that. Same with like a melody line or a bass line. You just can't quite figure out, working on the piano roll, getting that to the way that you want it. But if you could sing it, man, this just makes it a lot easier to get that idea into more of a musical format to work with your project. So this is just a good creative tool for writing if you're kind of stuck and you don't know how to translate what you're thinking. This will help you out. So hope you can find some use for this. This helps you out in some way. Please like, subscribe, and share.